morning, guys. Happy Monday. I cannot believe that it is the last week of distant learning. It's been kind of slow, but then also I'm like looking back, thinking that it's already been 6 weeks and that it's just kind of flown by. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you spoiled your mothers in your life or grandmas, and that you continue to spoil them. They're very important in your lives, and it shouldn't just be one day, but every day that you treat them with kindness and respect, and that you do little things for them. So today is May 11th, and it is your last week. So I expect you guys to finish strong. I know that you guys are so ready for summer, and you're probably done with distant learning. I am too. But I want you guys to finish strong this week and to do all your learning menu things. I did have quite a few not fill out their survey for last week, so if you did not fill out a survey, make sure you fill that out so that you do get your grades in. I do take those as grades. So, okay, so for reading today, you'll read for 20 minutes, and then what is the point of view of the story? So remember, there's first or third person usually. There's sometimes second, but second is using you. So it's usually persuading. Most books are usually like third or first person. First person's using you, or I, me, my, and then third person is he, she, they, them. Okay. Go on a geometric shape hunt around your house. What can you find that is shaped like a cube, pyramid, sphere, cylinder, or rectangular prism? Okay, so this is like a rectangular prism. How do you think germs get inside your body? Make a list, research if possible, and then there's a link for germs if you would like to research that. Writing. Write a short story about a cat and a dog that are best friends. Draw pictures and make your story into a book. That's a fun one. Plank challenge. How long can you hold a plank for each day? Graph your results or go noodle. Okay, so I may post a video later of me showing you how to do plank because I love planks. Okay. And then Tuesday, tomorrow, you're going to do a cold read 5, click on link, read story, answer questions, and it's called the treasure hunt. 3D shapes, edges, vertices, faces. Practice your skills using the link below. For science, pick a state that you would like to learn more about. Do some research. How far is it from where you live? What is the weather like? Would you like the weather better than Oklahoma? Okay, so you're just learning about different weather, and Oklahoma definitely has unique weather. A verb is an action word. Jump, swim, run. Can you think of a verb for every letter of the alphabet? Oh, that's a fun one. I'm trying to think of them all. That's kind of a hard one. You can use your computer if you would like to do that. Specials, keyboard challenge, or what was the last movie you watched? Type up a review of your thoughts on the movie and if you recommend it to others. Okay, so if you've ever seen a movie review, it usually tells you, they rate it 5 stars and what they liked about it, what they would change. Okay, so I'm trying to think of other things that you need to know. Okay, so I am extending it to Friday that y'all need to tell me about your multiplication. I've had several parents message me telling me that you guys are still working on them, so I'm going to give you till Friday. If even then, I'm not really sure when. I have like a little goodie bag and some letters and things like that I'm wanting to pass out. But it's really difficult for me to go to every house, so I was going to do like a curbside pickup, and I can't do it at the school. So I was going to, you guys have all had my address because of letters and things, just like have a certain time, 2 to 4 or something, where you guys can come and pick it up. And we would still obviously social distance ourselves, but I was hoping that I would have all the stuff for that, but I have something that I ordered and it hasn't come in yet. So I may wait until next week, the end of next week, to go ahead and pass them out. I'm hoping that it'll be in by then. If not, then I'll just do it, and I'll bring those other things by later. So anyway, the point is you guys will have time if you do not have the multiplication done. I just want you guys to have it done before next year. Okay. So just let me know about the multiplication. I sent out a memory book. A virtual memory book. I'm going to show all of those on our party on Thursday. I may show some tomorrow so that we don't have all 20, however many, on Thursday. So I may show some tomorrow. I've already gotten 2, maybe 3 done already, which is very impressive. I appreciate those who have been on top of it. So anyway, if you guys want to finish those this week and send them to me before our Zoom on Thursday. If it's sent after that, it's not going to be shown, but you can still show me. Chapter 8. The Happy Home. Peter was quite alone. The mermaids had all gone to their beds beneath the sea. The only sound was the steady splash of water rising against the rock. Then a glimmer of something floating on the water caught Peter's eye. It looked like a bit of paper, but a closer look revealed it was the Never bird on her drifting nest. The bird was struggling to reach Peter. She flapped her wings in the water like oars. She was nearing exhausted by the effort. It was her intention to give Peter her nest as a raft, but of course she could not tell him that. And of course he could not ask what her intentions were. Neither spoke the other language. The Never bird cackled at Peter in bird language, and Peter came back in his. They grew angry because each thought the other was not really trying to understand. Why don't you do as I tell you? The Never bird asked, and Peter replied, What are you quackling about? It seems hopeless. The Never bird had an idea. She decided to show Peter what she wanted. She flapped her wings and rose into the air, abandoning her nest and its cargo of precious eggs. So there's the picture. At once, Peter understood the bird was giving up her nest so he could have a raft. But the eggs in the nest were a problem. He could not simply throw them out. Luckily, Peter spied Starkey's hat nearby on the rock. Peter placed the big eggs in the hat and set it in the water. It floated as well as a boat. The bird was delighted. She fluttered to the hat and set on the eggs while Peter paddled the nest safely to shore. In no time at all, Peter was in the home under the ground. Wendy was already there. The kite had carried her straight home. The boys were thrilled to see Peter and Wendy, but they were more excited to stay up past their bedtime. Wendy would have none of that. To bed, she said firmly. It was a voice that the boys simply had to obey. When the Indians learned that Peter had saved Tiger Lily, they became his devoted friends. They called him Chief and swore to do anything for him. The Indian braves stood watch over the underground home to protect Peter and the others from a pirate attack. Everyone knew the pirates would attack, but they did not know when. Peter liked being admired by the Indians and let their praise go to their head. Your chief is glad to see such brave warriors protecting his wigwam, he would say. On the other hand, the Indians were not so respectful to the boys. That was fine by Peter, who thought that it was as it should be. Wendy secretly sympathized with the boys, but she had nothing because she did not want to upset Peter, who everyone pretended was their father. Father knows best, she said, though she did not always believe it. One night Peter left the underground home to check the time. The only clock on the island was inside the crocodile, so all he had to do was find the creature and wait for the chime. The Indians were at their posts above the house, while inside the children were eating supper. It was make-believe, of course, like the rest of the adventure. The boys broke into a squabble, and Wendy had to silence them with a sharp silence. When Peter came home, he found them full of compliments. Peter had wanted to sit in Peter's chair. The twins complained of John. Toddles wanted to pretend he was the father, or if not, to be the baby. But Michael would not let him. Slightly coughed at the table, and Curly ate both butter and honey. And we want you to dance, the twins said. At first Peter refused, but since he was the best dancer, he finally gave in. Soon they were all dancing. Nobody knew what was going to happen before the night was out. Perhaps it was best not to know. The dance soon turned into an uproarious pillow fight atop the bed, but even that ended because it was soon time for bed. The children quieted down as Wendy prepared to tell her good-night story. Usually Peter put his hands over his ears and left the room when Wendy told this particular story, but tonight he stayed on the stool to listen. Once upon a time, there was a gentleman and a lady. Wendy began, but before she could continue, the boys interrupted. Was a lady? Cried one of the twins. Do you mean she is dead? I wish the gentleman was a white rat, Nib said. Be quiet, Wendy scolded. No, the lady is not dead, she said, getting back to her story. I'm glad, Toodles said. Shh, Peter hushed. A little less noise. The gentleman's name was Mr. Darling, Wendy said. The lady's name was Mrs. Darling. I knew them once, John said to annoy the others. I think I knew them too, Michael said, though he was not so sure. Wendy ignored the interruptions. The lady and the gentleman were married, she said, and they had 3 descendants. Descendants only means children, John said. Wendy touched her finger to her lips before continuing. The 3 children had a faithful nurse called Nana. she said. But one night, Mr. Darling chained her in the yard because he was angry with her. She glanced at the boys and Peter, who listened wide-eyed. That night, the children flew away to Neverland, where the lost children are, Wendy went on, and they are all still there. Was one of the lost children called Toodles? Toodles asked excitedly. Wendy nodded. Hooray! I am in a story. Shh, Wendy hushed. Just think of those unhappy parents with all those children flown away. Everyone moaned, though they really weren't much interested in unhappy parents at all. How can this story have a happy ending? A twin asked. If you knew how much a mother loves her children, you would know, Wendy said. Peter didn't like the part of the story, but Wendy continued to tell the rest. The oldest child knew that the mother would leave the window open, she said. That way the children could return whenever they wanted. Did they go back? Toodles asked. Wendy tapped the side of her nose. We have to look into the future to see, she said with her eyes looking off. Maybe years later, an elegant woman steps off the train. My goodness, it is Wendy, she said with a smile. And with her are two handsome gentlemen. Why, they are John and Michael. Oh, John and Michael gasped to hear that they were in the story. The three are in front of a house, Wendy said. Now Wendy's points to the open window. There is our reward for trusting our mother's love, she said. Wendy turned to the boys, and that is the happy ending. Oh, I am ill, Peter groaned. Wendy ran to him at once. Where does it hurt? She asked. He put his hands over his heart. Here, he said, but he wasn't really ill, of course. It was the story that hurt him. You are wrong about mothers, Wendy, he said. I used to think my mother would keep a window open for me, too, but when I went back to the window, it was barred. She had forgotten all about me. The idea of being forgotten frightened John and Michael. Let's go home, Wendy, they cried. Wendy gathered them in her arms. Yes, she said, tonight. Not tonight, the lost boys cried in bewilderment. We'll leave at once, Wendy said. The thought she had suddenly occurred to her that her mother's heart was half broken with her children gone. Peter, she said quickly, will you make the necessary arrangements? If you wish, Peter said calmly, trying to keep his real feelings hidden. He hurried up the hollow tree to tell the Indians what to do. When he returned to the home under the ground, the lost boys had rebelled. It will be worse for us than before she came, they shouted, frightened by the thoughts of losing Wendy. We shall keep her prisoner. But Toodles would have none of it. Don't touch her, he cried. The other boys withdrew. Just then, Peter stepped into the room. We won't keep you against your will, he said. The Indians will guide you through the woods, and Tinker Bell will lead you across the sea. Tinker Bell was delighted that Wendy would be leaving, but she was not eager to be Wendy's guide. Peter gave her a warning stare, and she quickly changed her mind. John and Michael prepared for the journey as the lost boys watched dejectedly. Wendy's heart melted as the sight of the sad lost boys. You can come with us, she said. I'm sure my father and mother will adopt you. Can we go, Peter? The boys shouted excitedly. Peter nodded that they could, though his heart was not in it. The boys rushed out to get their things. And you'll come too, Wendy said to Peter. No, Peter said calmly. I'm not going. But it's to find your mother, Wendy said. No, Peter said. I don't need a mother. And besides, I want to stay a little boy and have fun. The lost boys returned, each with a bundle and the end of a stick. When they heard Peter wasn't coming, they were stunned. But that was that, so Wendy gathered everyone for the journey. Remember to change your flannels and take your medicine, she said to Peter. I will, Peter said, trying to hide his real feelings. He turned to Tinker Bell. Lead the way for them, he said. Tink immediately darted up the nearest hollow tree, but nobody followed, because at the very moment the room filled with the sound of clanking steel and rough voices. The pirates had attacked. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 8. And the next chapter is the children are carried off. So the pirates just attacked. I wonder what will happen. Okay, you guys have a wonderful Monday and Tuesday. I will see you on Zoom tomorrow. And I think that's it. So you guys have a great day. Enjoy reading, cuddling up and reading with a good book for a rainy day.